Hey, ever feel like the person you want to be and the person who's currently glued to the sofa are in two completely different galaxies? You get the gym membership, download the language app, and swear to yourself, this time, it's for real. But a few weeks later, you're right back where you started, left with that all too familiar feeling of frustration. For decades, we've been told the same story. You failed because you're lazy, you lack willpower, or you're just not disciplined enough. But what if I told you the problem isn't you at all? Today, we're going to meet a legend. Dr. B.J. Fogg, the founder of Stanford University's Behavior Design Lab. After coaching over 60,000 people for 20 years, he reached a revolutionary conclusion. The way we approach change is fundamentally flawed by design, and it has absolutely nothing to do with our character. Based on this discovery, he created a model that is incredibly simple yet unbelievably powerful. Get ready, because it might just completely change the way you think about habits. Dr. Fogg discovered that everything we do, from mindlessly scrolling through our phones to deciding to run a marathon, follows the same hidden rule. He distilled this rule into a super cool formula. Behavior equals motivation plus ability plus prompt, or B equals MAP. Think of it like a 3-digit combination lock. Traditionally, we pour all our energy into motivation, ignoring the other two numbers, ability and prompt. But in reality, only when all three, motivation, ability, and prompt, line up at the same time does the lock of behavior click open. If even one is missing or wrong, that door is staying shut. First, let's look at motivation, that force that makes you want to do it. Dr. Fogg says our motivation generally comes from 3 sources. First up is sensation, seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. For example, this milkshake is delicious. I want more. Or that stove is hot. I'd better pull my hand back. Second is anticipation, hope for a good outcome or fear of a bad one. For example, I hope I ace this test, so I'm going to study, or I'm terrified of bombing on stage, so I'm not giving that speech. And finally, there's belonging, the desire to fit in and the fear of being left out. For example, all my friends are playing this new game. I should check it out. Or everyone's using that new meme. I'll use it too. But here's the brutal truth you need to know about motivation. It's a total flake. It's like the wind. It comes and goes as it pleases, and you have almost no control over it. Trying to build a daily habit on motivation alone is like trying to power your house with lightning strikes. Sure, it's powerful, but you can't count on it showing up every day. Since motivation is unreliable, we need to turn to our trump card, the one thing we can truly control. It's ability. Now, when Dr. Fogg says ability, he doesn't mean your innate talent. He means how easy the action is to do. Remember this golden rule. If you want to create change, make it ridiculously easy. Our brain secretly judges how simple something is based on 6 factors, which Fogg calls the simplicity factors. Think of them as a quick scanner in your head that asks a few questions. First, it considers time. Does this take too much time? If the answer is yes, it feels hard. To make it easy, you have to ask yourself, can I do this in 30 seconds? Then, it looks at money. Is this too expensive? The fix is to ask, can I do this for free, or at least for less? Next up is physical effort. Is this going to be exhausting? The solution is to make it require almost 0 effort. You can even ask, can I do this while sitting down? The scanner also checks for mental effort, or brain cycles. If your brain thinks this is way too complicated, you'll shut down. You have to design the behavior to be a no-brainer. It also worries about social deviance. Will doing this make me look like a weirdo? To make it simple, make sure the behavior feels normal and fits in with what others do. And finally, it checks the routine. Is this going to mess up my whole day? The easiest path is to seamlessly plug the new behavior into your existing routine. At any given moment, the resource you have the least of, whether it's time, energy, or money, is your bottleneck. It determines whether something feels easy or hard for you. The final piece of the model, the prompt, is the most polarized factor. On one hand, tech companies are masters of it. They use the little red dots on app icons and the notifications on your lock screen to constantly poke you, hoping to win your attention. Ultimately, the battle for the internet is a battle for your time. But let's be honest, prompts are a bit overused in our apps. On the other hand, most of us completely ignore the power of prompts in our own lives, especially when trying to build new habits. We push ourselves, try to stay disciplined, and rely on willpower, but we forget to set up a good trigger. Prompts are often forgotten because they're not as obvious. You can feel motivation and you can objectively assess your ability, but prompts are often invisible. Think about it. What made me suddenly crave a piece of cake? Was it the commercial that flashed on TV 30 seconds ago? Or was it the chat I just had with a friend about a funny story at a restaurant last year, which just so happened to have amazing cake? It's hard to pinpoint. And yet, the prompt is the decisive factor. Without a prompt, a behavior will not happen, no matter how high your motivation or ability is. Before we discuss how to set up prompts correctly, let's break them down. Dr. Fogg identifies 3 types, and one of them is pure gold for habit formation. The first type is a person prompt, which relies on something internal, like your memory. The weakness here is that they're unreliable. You might see the person and still forget what you wanted to say. The second type is a context prompt, which is an external cue like a sticky note or an alarm. Their weakness is that they can be unnatural or easy to ignore. Your 8 p.m. alarm to go for a run might go off while you're still stuck at work. And the third most powerful type is an action prompt. This is when one existing behavior triggers the next one. For example, getting out of bed prompts you to brush your teeth. Dr. Fogg champions using existing behaviors as prompts for new ones. He calls these reliable, existing habits anchors. Alright, we have the blueprint, and we understand the concepts. Now it's time to grab our tools and start building. Dr. Fogg's Tiny Habits method is the super practical construction guide. Step 1. Find your golden behaviors with a focus map. First, we need to figure out what we're building. We often fail because we choose the wrong habits to begin with. Dr. Fogg gives us a treasure map to find our golden behaviors. Actions that are effective, that we genuinely want to do, and that are easy to implement. The process is simple. Take out a piece of paper and write your aspiration in the middle, for example. Be a more consistent reader. Then brainstorm all the behaviors that could help you achieve that aspiration. At this stage, quantity is more important than quality. Set a timer for 10 minutes and just write down as many ideas as you can. For my read more aspiration, my list might include ideas like reading in bed until I fall asleep, reading for 30 minutes first thing at the office, listening to audiobooks in the car, picking out short, fun books, or browsing a bookstore on the weekend. Next, bring out the focus map. It's a simple chart with motivation on the vertical axis and ability on the horizontal axis. Plot each of your brainstorm behaviors on this map. The ones that land in the top right quadrant, high impact and high feasibility, are your golden behaviors. They are the perfect place to start. This method helps you avoid the traps of looks good, but is useless, or super effective but impossibly hard, ensuring your energy goes where it counts from day one. Looking at my list, I'd say listen to audiobooks in the car and read for 30 minutes first thing at the office are my golden behaviors. This step is really about clarifying your motivation. Step 2. Master the ABC recipe. Once you've found your golden behavior, you need to make it incredibly small and then plant it in your life using Dr. Fogg's ABC recipe. First, A is for anchor. Find a rock-solid existing habit in your life to act as the trigger for your new habit. This is the action prompt we talked about. Next, B is for behavior, which is the tiny version. Shrink your new habit down until it's so easy you almost laugh. something you can do in under 30 seconds. Finally, and this is the secret sauce. C is for celebration. Immediately after you do your tiny behavior, you must celebrate instantly. The full recipe looks like this. After I otanka, I will all tiny behavior. For example, after I take my first sip of morning coffee, I will open my journal. Or, after my head hits the pillow, I will think of one thing I'm grateful for today. The anchor solves for the prompt, the tiny behavior solves for ability, and the celebration is a critical element outside the BE-MAP formula. It's important because of a simple truth. Habits are formed by emotions. You could even say that behavior design is, in essence, emotion design. Step 3. Rewire your brain with shine. When you complete your tiny behavior and immediately feel good about it, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine. It's essentially telling itself, hey, that felt good. Let's do that again. Dr. Fogg has a great name for this feeling of success. Shine. Your celebration can be anything that makes you feel genuinely good. A fist pump while whispering yes. A private, triumphant smile, or just telling yourself, nice work. The key is that it must be immediate and authentic. This feeling of shine is the super fertilizer for your habit seed, making it sprout and grow roots in your brain. What's more, celebration is a skill you can practice. You might need to try a few things to find what truly sparks that feeling of shine for you. Once you master this skill, you've basically unlocked a superpower to build any habit you want. What happens when you mess up? Stop blaming yourself. Instead, think like an engineer and debug the system. Go back to the BE-MAP formula and ask yourself these questions, in this specific order. First, ask yourself, is there a prompt? Did I forget to do it simply because nothing triggered me? If so, design a better prompt. If that's not it, then ask, is it too hard? Is the behavior beyond my current ability? If so, make the behavior even smaller or find a way to make it easier to do. And only after you've checked those two should you ask, do I even want to do this? Maybe this isn't a change you truly desire. This debugging order is critical. Most people jump straight to blaming a lack of motivation, but Fogg teaches us that motivation is the last thing you should look at because it's the hardest to control. Start with the things you can design, the prompt and the ability, and the issue transforms from a vague personal failing into a solvable engineering problem. This model also works in reverse to help you break bad habits. The core idea isn't to make them impossible, but to make them a huge pain. You can start by removing the prompt, unsubscribe from those marketing emails, hide the junk food, or delete social media from your phone's home screen. Another tactic is to increase the difficulty by adding friction. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it from the wall after every use. Want to stop impulse buying? Delete your saved credit card info. By increasing the cost in time, money, or effort, the bad habit is no longer so convenient. On the path to change, you will have setbacks. Fogg's method encourages us to see these moments as discoveries, not failures. The goal isn't a perfect track record, it's a resilient system. Missed a day, no big deal. Just get back to it tomorrow, because the habit is so tiny. The barrier to restarting is incredibly low. You feel almost no guilt and can get back on track effortlessly. A tiny habit rarely stays tiny forever. Once a behavior becomes automatic, it starts to grow on its own. After doing one push-up, you often feel like doing a few more. After reading one sentence, you're often drawn into the next paragraph. This is because every small success builds your ability and motivation. But more importantly, it slowly changes your identity. You are transforming from a person who can never stick with things into a person who follows through. So, let's tie it all together. We fail at change not because we're broken, but because we've been using the wrong method. The key to success isn't relying on fickle willpower. It's becoming a behavior designer. You now have the blueprint. B equals map. You have the tools. the tiny habits method. And you know the secret weapon, the power of shine? The best way to understand all this is to try it. So right now, I encourage you to design your very first tiny habit. Thank you for watching.